It is the worst night in the history of life on Earth. 66 million years ago, the sky is falling and the horizon is on fire. An asteroid the size of a mountain has just struck the planet. The air itself is beginning to burn, and the world is ending. Across the land, the giants are dying. The dinosaurs, rulers of the world for 100 million years, are being erased in a single night. But down at the edge of a dark, shallow sea, something is not panicking. Something is simply doing what it has always done. A small, armored creature crawls slowly through the muck. Round shell, 10 eyes, a long, spiked tail dragging behind it. It does not look up at the burning sky. It does not run. It has no reason to. It has seen the end of the world before. Not once, not twice. This is not the first apocalypse its kind has survived. This ancient animal has watched the planet die around it again and again. Around it, the shallows fill with the dying and the drowned. But the crab is a scavenger, and even the end of the world leaves scraps to feed on. And when the fires burn out, and the dust settles, and the dinosaurs are gone forever, it will still be here, crawling through the mud, exactly as before. That creature was a horseshoe crab, and it is quite possibly the greatest survivor the Earth has ever produced. 5 times in our planet's history, life has almost ended completely. 5 apocalypses, each one wiping out the majority of all species alive. And through every single one of them, this strange, ancient animal simply kept crawling. It is older than the dinosaurs, older than trees, older almost than life on land itself. And the secret to how it survived hides something even stranger. A substance in its body that, today, is used to save human lives. This is the story of the ultimate survivor. If that is why you are here, stay and subscribe now. We're going back to the beginning. To understand this animal, you first have to understand what it has lived through, because its survival only makes sense against the scale of the disasters it walked past. Life on Earth has faced 5 great mass extinctions, events so severe that, each time, most species alive were simply erased. These were not slow declines. They were planetary catastrophes, ice ages, poisoned oceans, continent-splitting volcanoes, and a mountain falling from the sky. Scientists define a mass extinction with a simple, terrifying threshold. When more than 3/4 of all species on Earth die in a geological blink, that is a mass extinction. 5 separate times, life has crossed that line into catastrophe, and each time, the survivors inherited a broken, emptied world. In the worst of them, over 90% of all species on Earth died. Whole branches of life were wiped away, gone forever in a geological instant. Almost nothing survives even one of these events unchanged. The history of life is mostly a history of things that ended. And yet, through all 5 of them, one humble creature simply endured. Not by fighting, not by growing huge, but by being almost impossible to kill off. This is the horseshoe crab, and it is not what you think it is. It is not even a crab. It is something far older and far stranger. Its closest living relatives are not crabs or lobsters at all. They are the spiders and the scorpions, the ancient arachnids. Look closely, and you can see it. The armored body, the many legs, the alien design. Underneath that smooth domed shell hides something far more ancient and strange than any crab. And it carries a tail like a spike, which looks like a weapon but is not. It uses that tail as a lever to flip itself upright whenever a wave rolls it onto its back. This creature has been crawling the shallow seas for over 400 million years. To understand how ancient that truly is, you have to go back to a world without much life at all. It appeared before the first tree ever grew on land, before flowers, before insects took to the air, before anything with a backbone walked on the ground. It is so unchanged that scientists gave it a special name, a stabilomorph. A body design so successful that, once evolution found it, it barely ever needed to be touched again. Most creatures are constantly reshaped by the pressures of a changing world. The horseshoe crab found an answer so complete that change became almost unnecessary. Travel back nearly 450 million years to a strange, empty world. There are no forests, no animals on land. Life is almost entirely trapped in the oceans. The land is bare rock and dust, stretching silent to the horizon. But the shallow seas are crowded, teeming with the strange early experiments of life. Here, in these ancient waters, the first horseshoe crabs appeared, and astonishingly, they already looked almost exactly like the ones alive today. Think about that for a moment. A creature that has barely changed in 400 million years. It did not need to change. Evolution had already found something close to perfect, and the horseshoe crab was there to witness it at the very dawn of complex life. It began with cold. The planet plunged into a sudden, brutal ice age. Great ice sheets locked up the water, and the sea levels dropped dramatically. The shallow seas, where almost all life lived, began to drain away. The crowded, thriving habitats simply vanished, leaving countless creatures stranded and dying. Then the ice melted, and the disaster reversed itself. The returning water was starved of oxygen and thick with poison, killing whatever the cold had spared. By the time it was over, around 8 in every 10 marine species were gone. It was the first mass extinction, and one of the deadliest life would ever face. But the horseshoe crab lived on. While the specialists of that ancient sea died out, this simple generalist simply carried on. And here we find the first secret of its survival. It could live where others could not, in shallow, muddy, low-oxygen water that killed most life. Because the second great extinction was already waiting, tens of millions of years ahead. The second apocalypse came slowly, in waves, over millions of years. It struck during the age of fish, when the oceans were ruled by armored monsters. One by one, the oceans began to suffocate. The water lost its oxygen, and the great reefs and their creatures collapsed into ruin. The armored fish, the rulers of that world, were devastated. Whole dynasties of ancient life were snuffed out in the deepening dark. But down in the shallow muck, the horseshoe crab kept feeding. It was a scavenger. It ate whatever it found, and in a dying world, there was always something to eat. That is the second secret. It was never picky. When the specialists starved, the generalist thrived on the scraps of the apocalypse. If the idea of a single animal walking calmly through 5 apocalypses grips you, you already understand why this channel exists. We follow the survivors into the darkest chapters of the prehistoric world. If that is the kind of dark you want, you know what to do. And then came the worst catastrophe the Earth has ever known. Around 250 million years ago, an event scientists call the Great Dying. Enormous volcanoes erupted for thousands of years, drowning the world in fire and gas. The air filled with carbon and poison. The planet overheated. The oceans turned acidic. This was the closest life on Earth has ever come to ending entirely. Around 9 in every 10 marine species vanished. The world was nearly wiped clean. Try to picture that scale of death. If you lined up 10 kinds of ocean creature, 9 of them would simply cease to exist. It took the planet millions of years just to begin to recover. The oceans were so damaged that, for ages afterward, they stayed strangely quiet and empty. And still, impossibly, the horseshoe crab endured. In a world that had become a graveyard, this ancient animal was still walking through the mud. Not long after, a fourth catastrophe struck as the supercontinent tore apart. More eruptions, more upheaval, more death, and again, the crab simply walked past it. And then, tens of millions of years later, came the fifth and most famous catastrophe of all. The asteroid. The mountain of rock that fell from the sky and ended the age of dinosaurs. You saw how that night began, with fire and a burning sky, and the giants dying. The impact threw so much debris into the air that the sun itself went dark for years. Plants withered. Food chains collapsed. 3/4 of all species were wiped from the earth. It was the disaster that reset the entire planet and cleared the way for mammals and eventually us. And through even that, the horseshoe crab simply kept crawling. 5 apocalypses, 5 near endings of life, and this one animal walked past every single one. The answer lies hidden inside its strange, ancient body, and it is stranger than you could guess. So how does one animal survive what kills almost everything else? 5 separate times? The horseshoe crab is not fast. It is not fierce. It is not clever. And that is exactly the point. Its first great weapon is simplicity. It is a tough, armored generalist that needs very little to survive. It can live in warm water or cold, deep or shallow, salty or nearly fresh. When the world changes, most creatures die. The horseshoe crab just moves on and adapts. It eats almost anything it finds on the seafloor. Worms, shellfish, dead animals, scraps. In an apocalypse, being unfussy is a superpower, and it breeds in staggering numbers. A single female can lay tens of thousands of eggs, flooding the future with survivors. Think about why that matters in an apocalypse. When a disaster kills most of a population, a species that breeds by the thousands still has a chance. A handful of survivors and a beach full of eggs is all it takes to begin again. Over and over. That simple math has carried this animal back from the edge of oblivion. And it wears armor that has barely needed to change. A hard, rounded shell that shrugs off predators, pressure, and the churn of a violent sea. But its strangest secret is hidden in its blood. Because the horseshoe crab does not bleed red. It bleeds a vivid, alien blue. Our blood is red because it carries oxygen using iron. The horseshoe crab uses copper instead, and copper turns its blood a brilliant blue. But the color is not even the amazing part. That blue blood has an almost supernatural ability to detect and trap invaders. The moment bacteria enter its body, the blood swarms and clots around the threat. It is a primitive, brutal, and incredibly effective immune system, perfected over hundreds of millions of years. And there is one more piece to this armor of survival: its eyes. The horseshoe crab has 10 of them, scattered across its body, sensing light from nearly every direction. In a dark, changing, dangerous world, it is almost always aware of what surrounds it. A simple creature, yes, but one built from every angle to keep on surviving. Because that same blue blood is now one of the most valuable substances in modern medicine. When we make a vaccine or a medicine to inject into your body, it must be pure. A single trace of hidden bacteria could be deadly, and we need a way to detect it. The horseshoe crab's blue blood is that detector. It reacts to bacterial contamination faster and more reliably than almost anything we have ever made. Add a tiny amount of it to a sample, and if any dangerous bacteria are present, it clots on contact. A clot means danger. Clear liquid means safe. It is a life or death test, read in an instant. There was for a long time simply no better way to do it. This ancient immune system turned out to be more sensitive than our most advanced technology. So think about what that means. Almost every safe injection, every vaccine, every implant has been tested using this ancient animal's blood. If you have ever had a vaccine, there is a good chance a horseshoe crab helped make it safe. An animal that predates the dinosaurs has quietly touched the life of nearly every modern human. A creature that survived 5 apocalypses is now quietly helping our own species survive. The oldest survivor on Earth has become a hidden partner in modern human medicine. Because the animal that outlasted every catastrophe now faces a threat it never evolved to survive. The horseshoe crab walked through 5 mass extinctions without ever meeting its match. Ice, fire, poison, asteroid, none of them could end its ancient line. But it never faced anything like us. For the first time in 400 million years, this survivor met a truly new kind of threat. Every year, we take over 1 million horseshoe crabs from the wild. We collect them for their blood, the very substance that keeps our medicine safe. They are drained of part of their blue blood, then returned to the sea. Many survive, but many do not. and their numbers have been quietly falling for decades. At the same time, we are destroying the shores where they breed. The quiet beaches they have returned to for eons are vanishing under human hands. And this is the strange, uncomfortable irony of their story. An animal that survived everything the planet could throw at it is now threatened by the species it protects. It outlasted the death of the dinosaurs. It outlasted the great dying. It has no natural predator that can end its line. It has only us. There is a bitter lesson buried in this. Nature spent 400 million years failing to kill this animal. We may do it in a few centuries. The very traits that saved it, being slow, simple, and gathering in huge numbers on open beaches, are exactly the traits that make it easy for us to find, harvest, and overwhelm. For the first time, its ancient survival strategy has become a weakness. The apocalypse it never prepared for is a slow, quiet one, and it wears a human face. But there may be hope, and it comes from an unexpected place. Scientists have now created a synthetic version of the crab's blood-based test. A lab-made alternative that could finally free the horseshoe crab from our need for its blood. The animal that helped keep us alive may, at last, be released from the debt we forced upon it. Whether we choose to use it is now up to us. The greatest survivor in history has done its part. The question is whether we will let it keep surviving. Now let's step back and look at the full scale of this creature's story. 450 million years, 5 apocalypses, one small, armored animal that walked past them all. It watched the first complex life appear and survived the ice age that nearly ended it. It survived the suffocating seas, the great dying, the breakup of the continents, and the asteroid. Empires of life rose and fell above it, again and again. The dinosaurs came and went. The giant sea reptiles came and went. And still it kept crawling. Think about the sheer depth of time it has witnessed. Continents drifted apart and slammed back together. Oceans opened and closed. And it endured through all of it. If you could stand it beside the very first horseshoe crab, you would barely tell them apart. 450 million years of history, and almost the same animal at both ends of it. Every rule we have about survival, this animal quietly breaks. It did not survive by being the strongest, the fastest, or the smartest. It survived by being simple, tough, adaptable, and impossible to fully wipe out. While the giants gambled everything on power, this creature quietly bet on endurance and won every time. But here is what should truly stay with you. The next time you see one of these strange creatures washed up on a shore, look at it again. You are not looking at a simple, ugly little crab. You are looking at the single greatest survivor in the entire history of animal life. A living witness to every apocalypse this planet has ever suffered. A creature that watched 5 worlds end, and is still here, crawling through the mud, exactly as before. There is something almost humbling in that thought. Our entire species has existed for a few 100,000 years. This animal has endured for hundreds of millions. It was here long before us, and if we let it, it will be here long after. The horseshoe crab does not need us, but in a strange way, we have come to need it. And that may be the real lesson written in its ancient shell. Survival was never about being the biggest, the fiercest, or the most powerful thing alive. It was about being adaptable, being humble, and simply refusing to disappear. The meek, armored survivor outlasted every giant that ever looked down on it. Nothing about the horseshoe crab is normal. Not its blood, not its age, not the fact that, after everything, it is still here. What we covered today is the greatest survivor the animal kingdom has ever produced. But it is not the only creature that has cheated death across deep time. There is another survivor, so small you cannot even see it. A creature that can survive being frozen, boiled, dried out, and even thrown into the vacuum of space. An animal that does not just endure the apocalypse. It sleeps straight through it. We go there next. If this changed how you see the natural world, subscribe now and leave a comment with what surprised you most. Was it the age, the blue blood, or the fact that it now helps keep us alive? Every comment tells us you want to go deeper, and we always go deeper.